Well, to help us answer our next question, we have to consider a beer keg and how it sent ripples through our community when a small business failed. Keg from Odyssey Beerworks in Arvada. City of Aurora is going to auction off 6 more like it because the kegs were, as they say on the TV news, in the wrong place at the wrong time. The wrong place was A-Town Pizzeria. The wrong time was when the City of Aurora seized them for back taxes.
And there's really nothing we can do about it at this point.
And that is how Chris Hill of Odyssey Beerworks came to learn the grainy details of tax law.
I don't sell them the kegs. I sell them the beer in the kegs. They have the kegs until they're empty, and then we get them back. Section 130-74 of the Aurora Municipal Code says they aren't getting them back this time because they didn't file a lease agreement for the kegs with the city. Ain't nobody got time for that. Someone at the city used an example of Coca-Cola runs into this all the time because they don't file this documentation, and so it's just a cost of doing business. They move on and don't worry about it. We're not quite the size of Coca-Cola yet, so maybe someday this won't be a concern to me, but right now $600–700 matters. Which is why Chris is thinking about going to that tax auction. I fundamentally oppose having to buy my stolen property back from the city. But if everybody's nice enough to just let me bid $5 and get all my kegs back, I'd probably do that. So I may show up just to see what happens. Law is pretty clear on this. Even Chris's attorney says the city is in the right. We just thought it was an interesting example of the ripple effect of a restaurant closure, and consider that an estimated 40% of new restaurants in the metro area will fail. President Trump is succeeding in uniting Colorado's Republicans and Democrats as never before as they rush to save the DACA program his administration dismantled today. Republican Senator Gardner took a sizable step toward the Center on Immigration, announcing that he's going to join Democratic Senator Bennet as a co-sponsor of the DREAM Act, which would give legal status to the so-called Dreamers who were brought to this country illegally as children.
We have an opportunity to come together as Republicans and Democrats to give young people the certainty they deserve and a legal path to stay in the only country they know.
And on the House side of the Capitol, Republican Congressman Mike Kaufman of Aurora introduced his discharge petition today. It's rare for a member of the majority to use that procedure to get a vote on the floor against the wishes of party leadership. Kaufman, like Gardner, was once a DACA opponent who is now fighting to preserve the program. We're highlighting the shifting stances of Senator Gardner and Congressman Kaufman because they have been surprising in a sea of not necessarily new noise from those who support and oppose the program. Our Marshall Zellinger is here to take on some questionable claims we've heard from the left and right.
Kyle, that first claim came in the first 90 seconds of Attorney General Jeff Sessions announcing that DACA would end in 6 months. And it's that those in the country under DACA are making a living at the expense of American citizens.
It also denied jobs to hundreds of thousands of Americans by allowing those same illegal aliens to take those jobs.
It's inaccurate to think of the economy as being a zero-sum game where the more work that I have means the less work that you have.
University of Denver professor Cesar Garcia Hernandez appears to back up 2 recent studies that show immigrants have not had a negative impact on Americans finding jobs. A study by the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering and Medicine found that new immigrants may take jobs from previous immigrants and that American teenagers may have fewer hours of work but not fewer jobs. Another study done a couple of years ago looking at census data determined citizens with no high school diplomas compete for different jobs than immigrants with no high school diplomas. Another issue is what happens in 6 months if DACA ends and Congress doesn't act. Does that mean ICE, which already has issues with detainees, will go after 800,000 immigrants who were brought here as children and send them back to the country they were born?
I don't think that there's a realistic fear that ICE is just going to take that database of 800,000 individuals who have received DACA and plug and play it into an enforcement database.
So we now have some stats that we've been working through. $1.6 billion in state and federal taxes are accounted for from these 800,000. So if you want to look at the economy aspect, forget the job side, sure, that could go away. So, we have what Bennet has done, what Kaufman has done. It's amazing how Colorado tends to be the center of everything that it comes to, whatever story's out there, it always focuses on Colorado. Yeah, exactly. Well, we'll see if Colorado is at the center of some kind of a solution here. Marshall, thank you. A final thought on that exactly. So we're about to find out whether Republicans really do want to save DACA
or whether they're just making political posturing at this point. We're going to find out whether Democrats are more interested in the solution that they say that they seek, or more interested in blaming Republicans for coming on board late. So we'll keep watching. Hurricane Irma is shaking the earth to its core. It's approaching Puerto Rico right now, where 600,000 people have already lost power. Irma has winds 185 miles per hour, gusts to 225. Winds so strong that they are showing up on equipment used to measure earthquakes. Our Noel Brennan takes us out to Golden, to the National Earthquake Information Center.
And we locate about 30,000 earthquakes per year.
From an office in Golden.
This is a typical aftershock that we've been seeing.
It's a geophysicist's job to make sense of squiggly lines.
You can kind of see that it's fairly smooth, some wiggles here, there's always wiggles.
Little wiggles John Bellini tends to ignore.
In general, it's just something in the background that we don't really pay much attention to.
But sometimes background noise.
You can see that the noise does increase in size and amplitude.
Is worth a closer look.
And then that's the island Antigua and Barbuda.
A seismometer in the Leeward Islands detected vibrations.
It's pretty consistent until you can start seeing it slowly increasing as the hours go by. So each one of these lines is an hour different from the one above it.
Squiggly lines caused by a giant spinning circle.
Hurricane, it can pick it up fairly well because it causes some vibration in the ground.
An earthquake expert never thought.
No, no I didn't.
He'd be tracking Hurricane Irma.
Considering the strength of the winds, it's not surprising at all to see a hurricane of this size being recorded on our seismometers.
Background noise now has his attention.
Because I have family that's in South Florida.
And it's impossible to ignore.
They're planning on evacuating, yeah, for sure.
For next.
So that's why I'm paying attention to it personally.
I'm Noel Brennan.
They tell us it's not unusual for those seismometers to pick up vibrations close to the sensors from construction or farming, mining, even heavy vehicles if they're just in the right spot. When disaster strikes, you'll always see those heartwarming videos of local first responders rolling out to help. Perhaps in the moment it seemed rude to ask. I mean, our local tax dollars pay their salaries. Are we paying for them to clean up somewhere else rather than serve our communities? Hey, it's okay to ask. The people who move these teams around America like chess pieces were happy to provide our Steve Steger with the answer.
We have 78 reported large wildfires at the moment.
Number 79 on this map is Harvey. Number 80 will likely soon be Hurricane Irma. Federal first responders are having a busy summer.
So it's nice to be on the exporter side and be able to allow our folks to go someplace else to help out.
That's Scott Swenson, the center manager for the Forest Service's Rocky Mountain Area Coordination Center.
Rocky Mountain Coordination Center, this is Joni.
His office oversees firefighting resources for 5 states. Every trained firefighter is in the computer here. It lists their availability and their training. Other jurisdictions can make a request if they need help, and the people in this room find a match and send the person where they're needed.
Let me find out from someone for you. Hold on.
Only if it won't hamper the efforts at home.
So we always ensure that we are always going to have enough resources locally to be able to meet our own needs. And our fire decision makers, the fire managers at regional and state levels, have determined these thresholds that we are not going to go below these certain types of things.
That's the federal side.
So we have systems in place to handle resource requests, make sure that we keep enough resources here to cover everybody that may need help in Colorado, and deliver what they need.
Kevin Klein is the director of our state's emergency management office.
And then when we had our major flood, we had, I think, 12 different states send us people to help us recover in 2013.
Statewide, there's a similar system where states request emergency management teams and other states fulfill those requests.
When we go, we get paid by that other state, so the Colorado taxpayers aren't paying for the Florida disaster.
Same thing on the federal side. FEMA reimburses the states for their help, or whatever agency is there to help. We do have one large wildfire burning here north of Steamboat. A crew of firefighters from Illinois is coming in to help with the effort there. The biggest influx of out-of-state help we've seen, though, was during the 2013 floods.
Oh, remember it well and appreciate it. Steve, thank you. They are America's cutest assassins. 2 pounds of terrifying lethality when they turn on a prairie dog. But black-footed ferrets have been nearly wiped out twice by a far more ruthless killer, humans. They're coming back from the brink of extinction on a wild piece of property that's near the heart of the city. To measure their comeback, scientists have to catch them, count them, microchip them, and vaccinate them at night. Our Anastasia Bolton and photojournalist Ann Herbst went along.
kind of a needle in a haystack game.
A game of looking for one's BFF.
They're relatively small.
In total darkness.
So they have really big, sharp teeth.
Is a game of trial.
Ooh. Ooh.
Error.
Actually, it's a deer taking a poop.
And sleepless nights.
I'm not a 3 in the morning person.
But it's David Lucas's job.
Is that fair?
As a refuge manager at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal.
We are looking for black-footed ferrets, the most endangered mammal in North America.
It's all worth it once he finds one.
And she will not be happy, but she's going to come out, aren't you? Make my life easy.
Each black-footed ferret tonight is a great story of success.
And she's out of here.
For America's BFF.
Oh, there he goes. He's dancing.
Apparently, the ferrets are liking their new non-extinct status, too.
The ferret dance is what they call that. Very few people get to see what we're seeing right now. Very few people.
Scientists introduced 25 tiny dancers to the Rocky Mountain Arsenal Prairie 2 years ago. Today, by last count, there are 50.
It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do, being a ferret, out in the wild. But it looks really good, I gotta say. Its coat is amazing.
Scientists hope their work will save the species.
Man, he's cute.
And lead to overall nationwide fame.
So the goal is Tiny Dancer on the Today Show. What do you think, Ann? At night is really when the prairie is alive. I mean, you saw the deer, we're seeing the ferrets. Normally you'll see owls, you'll see coyotes, you'll see badgers, you see the rabbits.
All depend on each other to eat, to survive, to dance.
I love seeing when things are starting to work too.
So when one link is almost lost, people like Dave say it's their responsibility to bring it back.
That is what success is if we can all work together to conserve what we have left here in the United States. We're doing the right thing.
For next, I'm Anastasia Bolton.
Even they didn't think they were going to see that. The 50 black-footed ferrets at the Arsenal represent about 10% of the wild population. In order to have them removed from the federal endangered list, conservationists would need to reach 3,000 breeding adults across at least 9 states.
Amazon wants to build a second headquarters. If you're a city, it's a sexy project. Thousands of high-paying jobs, billions with a B, billions of dollars for whatever city gets to have that headquarters. Now the fun part, metro areas across the country are selling themselves to Amazon, hoping they are the company's perfect match. The way 9 News reporter Anastasia Bolton sees it, it's like dating with marriage in mind.
We are primed for Amazon.
Business is like dating. Look at what I have to offer.
A highly trained workforce, mass transit, both in terms of the most advanced airport in the world and a light rail system that can get people from one part of the community to another. We do it through our higher education system, which is outstanding. We do it through 30 federal research labs that are located in Colorado. That innovation, that happens here.
Amazon really likes us. It's building 2 facilities in Aurora and Thornton. But we're not just looking for a hookup. We want something serious. We want Amazon's second headquarters.
I think Denver and Amazon can be a match made in heaven.
The company has a lot to offer, so it gets to pick, according to one analysis, between Seattle, Raleigh, Boston, Austin, D.C., Atlanta, New York, and others. We're confident, though, all others won't match.
Few places in the country, and in the world for that matter, combine our business climate with our quality of life. So I think that gives us an enormous competitive advantage.
For next, I'm Anastasia Bolton.
Amazon set out a bunch of requirements for a city or a region if they want to qualify for their second headquarters. The deadline to submit proposals is next month. Wherever it's built, the headquarters will house 50,000 full-time employees with an average salary and benefits exceeding $100,000 a year.